Berlin is about to have a referendum and you probably haven't heard what it's about. That's going to be the topic of today's video. Now, if you're an expat or a high net wealth individual, go over to adamfire.com and see how I can help you. Now, on this video, I'm going to talk about an interesting topic which hasn't been widely reported in the media, and that's Berlin. Now, they're coming up with a very radical program where basically they can actually seize property from investors and force investors to actually essentially sell out to the local council in order, or let's say the local government or local council, whatever you call it, in order to actually make rents cheaper. So it's actually a very radical program. Yes, it doesn't like literally force the investors to take 100% loss, but if this proposal goes ahead, essentially some investors will be forced to sell their property, and it's going to be very interesting what happens in the referendum. And this kind of links to my last video about investors in Tanzania. So while some countries, like in Tanzania, like in places like the Caribbean islands, are actually becoming more liberal when it comes to international investors and people who are digital nomads and people who are working online and so on, and trying to pull them in, there's other places like Berlin and some Western countries who are trying to essentially push them back. So it's going to be a very interesting 5 or 10 years. I'm going to be very interested to see what happens in this referendum and how this could affect other things like proposals for wealth taxes, digital taxes, global minimum corporate taxes and so on. But it's a very radical move. I don't think it's a good move for Berlin, but let's see what happens. How can I help you? In 2 ways. First of all, are you an expat, a high net wealth individual, or just somebody who lives in a part of the world where it's difficult to get access to quality investment solutions? In which case, go onto my website on adamfire.com and find out more. If you don't fit into any of those categories, then in which case there's a range of free material on my website, on this YouTube channel, and indeed on my Quora, where I get over 200 or have received over 231 million views in the last few years. And finally, if you want to actually read my thoughts in more detail, go onto Amazon and find my book on there.